This episode is brought to you by the Executive Leadership Council, the preeminent organization focused on increasing the number of successful Black executives domestically and internationally by adding value to their development, leadership, and philanthropic endeavors across the life cycle of their careers. For more information on the Executive Leadership Council, go to elcinfo.com. This conversation was recorded live for their 2024 Leadership Conference. We talk with Cliff Franklin. Cliff is the founder and CEO of Fuse Advertising, the fourth largest independently owned advertising agency in the country. His clients have been the Democratic National Committee, Barack Obama, Stacey Abrams, Anheuser-Busch. The names go on and on. In part one of my conversation with Cliff, he reflects on his roots, sharing how family and teamwork shaped his leadership style and how creativity and financial discipline fuel business success. In part two, we discover the power of disruption in marketing and leadership as Cliff Franklin highlights cultural influence, transformative campaigns, and leading with vision. Cliff has served numerous roles at the national and international level for Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I couldn't wait to get into this conversation with my fraternity brother. Hope you enjoy. Please let us know your thoughts. Hey, what you drinking? Welcome to a live episode of the Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership Podcast. I am so excited to have this conversation. If you've been following us on this journey that we began back in 2021 with talking with leaders all around the world about the whiskeys they drink, the music they listen to, and what they believe it really takes to be an effective leader. You know that we've had some incredible guests. And one of the people that have been on my list since conceiving of this idea for a podcast is Cliff Franklin. And I'm going to tell you, this guy is amazing. If you have a chance, if you're joining us virtually, go into the space there on Hubelo and download his bio, because we could spend the next 15 minutes just talking about all the things that he's done. I have personally been connected with Cliff for a bit. So with that, Cliff, come on into the room, man. What's going on?
Hello, Brother Bingham. How you doing, sir? Thank you so much for having me on the show. I've been wanting to join you for a while now, but as you know, travel schedules, et cetera, have been a little tough. But thank you so much for considering me. And hello to all of the wonderful executives at the ELC.
Absolutely, man. I've been bugging you for a while for this, so I'm so glad that we can make this happen. But this is a busy season for you. People are going to understand why as we get more into your background. But I'm going to start this off in typical whiskey, jazz, and leadership fashion, and that's by asking you an incredibly important question. This is probably the most important question. So, what you drinking?
Well, today I'm drinking Don Julio Reposado. Sometimes I might drink 1738, Remy 1738. They didn't have that today, so we're going to drink this Reposado. What are you drinking, sir?
Hey, man, I don't get a lot of people asking me that question. Usually I get to ask, but that just means, and being a marketing dude, you know that I've got to maintain the integrity of the brand, right? I got to maintain the integrity of the brand. And so I'm going to go with something that I drink a lot. I talk about this brand a lot. It's almost annoying. I've been stalking the CEO and founder of this company for the past 3.5 years. Okay, I'm going to go with Uncle Nearest. I'm going to drink some Uncle Nearest, but I've got this Uncle Nearest 1820. Now, the 1820 is their overproof. And as you can see, I've only got like an inch of this left. So I've been nursing this because everybody that I talk to, they say, yeah, you're going to have to wait a bit before this comes back. And I'm always nervous about drinking anything that I can't get a replacement for. But I'm going to crack this open. I'm going to go ahead and do, for this conversation, I'm going to do the 1820. So I'm going to go ahead and.
Okay, sounds good to me. I have a bottle of that in my office for you.
Oh, man, look at you. Look at you. I'm going to go ahead and pour this. Folks think I'm only going to pour half a finger because, what the heck, man. I'm gonna do the whole thing. I'm going to do the whole corner. And I got this in my uncle nearest glass. So I would love for you to share a little bit about your background. What has led you to being who you are right now? Because you didn't come off the playground and just become the fourth largest independent advertising agency in the country. There were some steps, there were some moves, there were some challenges in between. Talk a little bit about your background while I get into this 1820.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take a sip before I speak. So background, of course, born and raised in St. Louis, in North St. Louis. So grew up, in the city, sort of a gritty area of St. Louis that, of course, helped to shape me into what I am. Was fortunate enough to have two Mississippi born and raised parents who taught me there's a value system. I was fortunate. I came up playing baseball and football, so that gave me that sense of teamwork, that sense of understanding wins and losses. Went to University of Kansas, where I actually studied economics, and was fortunate enough to have that strong finance background. But interestingly, all of my internships had been in sales and marketing, so that gave me the sense to want to be creative and have a marketing agency. But the economics and finance background helped me to understand that P&L, which is very important to building a business. I was blessed to be able to start the company with my family, with my wife and my brother. And we were able to grow this with some incredible staffers who have now become partners and have just been able to grow it. We never started this agency to be a minority marketing company. We never started this to be focused on multicultural advertising. It was a function of the way the industry worked. And that really sets the tone for this topic today about, transformation and disrupting these old business models. When you get pigeonholed into minority marketing, that means you're getting pigeonholed to the smaller budgets. You're getting pigeonholed into being an afterthought as it relates to marketing to African Americans. And we're going through that right now during this political season. Unfortunately, if you think about on both sides of the aisle, over $5 billion is going to be spent in advertising, with a good chunk of it being spent in this last 6 weeks. But if you look around at the minority advertising agencies, most of them are not getting that business, or if they are, they're getting very little of it. So that's where that transformation comes in, and that's where these leaders at the ELC, even in their corporate area, could now be transformational and say, look, we have to focus on this market. We have to be intentional about the budgets we set forth, and then let's get those agencies in there to have the skill set to reach these markets.
Yeah, wow. I'll tell you, a lot of people, unless they are in the advertising field, unless they're in the marketing industry, they may not have heard of Fuse. They may not have heard of Cliff Franklin, unless they are a member of the greatest college fraternity in the whole wide world, Kappa Alpha Psi. We had some Qs on stage yesterday, but we need to represent the other side here. They may not know of Cliff Franklin, but they will know of the disruption of created by several of your clients. So if we just mention some of your clients, such as Stacey Abrams, one of your clients, such as there was this guy with a funny name who ran for president of the United States. What was his name again? I keep forgetting his name.
I think his name was Barack Obama. Well, we've been blessed, man. We've been on pretty much every historic campaign in the history of this country. So we joined the Obama campaign in '08. We handled all of African American paid media in the battleground states in 2008. We were there for the re-election in 2012. We then, of course, worked on the Clinton election through the Super PAC Priorities USA in 2016. Stacey Abrams' first run for governor, we worked on that campaign. And then, of course, Senator Warnock's first run at governor on his very first campaign for Senate. We worked on that one. So we've been blessed to be able to be with some historic leaders. But again, it has still been a struggle. The Obama campaign has probably been the best case study because it was the first time we weren't treated like three-fifths human. We had a great campaign team, great leadership, and David Axelrod, Larry Grissolano, Eric Smith, who gave us fair budgets and gave us fair opportunities, and we were able to shine. One of the things I can say when you say people have never heard of Fuse and Cliff Franklin, part of it is that we've done a poor job of marketing ourselves. When we got into this business, we didn't look at ourselves as trying to make ourselves into a brand, which is what a lot of marketing people do. If you notice, our names it's not Franklin and Associates or whatever, it's Fuse. So I never spent a lot of time on the speaking circuit. My job is to get my clients media impressions. My job is to get my clients brands to grow and increase, not my brand to grow and increase.
Mhm.
And there has to be a healthy balance there. And I would say if there was a downside to the way we operated Fuse is we didn't really push our brand like we should have. But again, we've been successful with the clients that we work with. On the corporate side, we had a really good run with Anheuser-Busch prior to the acquisition by InBev. We, did some legendary work for Miller Lite. We've done some great work for Gillette. We're now working in the energy sector with New Planet Energy and Resurgence. So we've been able to be in a lot of different avenues that has been really helpful to our clients, but also to our agency. Many of my people are long-term staffers that have been with me. Gerald Hawthorne, of course, who's a part of the leadership team and a good Kappa man. But none of this would be possible without my brother, Mike Franklin, who's the creative director and the creative firepower behind Fuse. And he's also a great Kappa man.
Well, fantastic. Well, hey, man, I feel so honored and privileged to have an actual marketing expert and guru on this show with me, because I think you're probably one of the better people on the planet to help me do what I do in every conversation. That is, help me ferret through and explain the connection between the name of this podcast, whiskey, jazz, and leadership. A lot of times people will say, Galen, I don't see how that connects other than the fact that you like all three. How do they connect? And I like all three literally. I also love the metaphor, and that's a lot of times what we talk about. Whiskey, for me, the metaphor is doing the things that you enjoy with the people you enjoy them with. This social element of connecting with like-minded people and having that be part of your crew. For me, the metaphor for jazz is, how do you get from where you are to where you need to be, even in situations where there's no sheet music or the sheet music isn't working? The plan is just not going to work, right? How do you still get to where you need to be on time and in key? That, for me, is the metaphor of jazz. And the metaphor of leadership, that's my thing, literally. I'm the leadership strategist, but the metaphor is marketing is great. Strategy is incredibly important, but at the end of the day, somebody's got to take a stand and say, we're moving left or we're moving right, starting right now. Analysis is over. Strategizing is done. We're going to take action. So for me, it's an action word. And so those three metaphors fit together in my head. Does that hold water for the marketing guru there? How does that fit with what you do and how you do it?
Absolutely. I think when I first heard of your digital show, I don't even like to call it a podcast and limit it to that, because it's such a phenomenal show, and it's such a dope name, because it does really hit that intersection of life. When I think about whiskey or fine liquor, it does mean a level of refinement, a level of having good taste. And in marketing, you have to have good taste. When you think about jazz, for me, and I think about the name Fuse. And I think we talked about this, Galen, before. Some of my favorite artists are the jazz fusion artists, Return to Forever, Weather Report. Of course, I like my straight ahead jazz. One of my favorite songs is, on the Love Supreme album with Coltrane, Acknowledgement. But jazz fusion has been sort of what shaped me, and that is fusing different cultures together. When we created Fuse, people ask me why that name. We really wanted to be that bridge between ethnic marketing and general marketing, because I don't think they really exist. You have to be able to speak to the heart and soul of a consumer. And great communication transcends race. Great music transcends race. Great liquor transcends race. And great leadership transcends race.
Fantastic. So let's bring this back to the real topic that we're talking about, and that's this idea of disruption and the importance of disruption for transformation. Because very often, especially when you become an entrepreneur, certainly during my time in corporate America, we wanted to make sure that they were sure bets. It was always nervous to do something that was too far left or too far right. We wanted to kind of stay within the guidelines to a certain degree, especially if money was involved. We wanted to make sure there was a sure bet. But when you start talking about disruption, that's almost going the opposite direction of the sure bet. You're breaking some rules. What are some strategies? How do you think about disruption and the role that it plays in the idea of transformation?
Well, I mean, I think it's critical, and I think the person that probably did it the best at that particular time was Steve Jobs with Apple. I mean, he was very disruptive in the way he, created that original iPod and made music accessible and basically disrupted the entire music industry. So it made it into a marketing juggernaut, but at the same time, it actually transformed the way people dealt with music, how musicians began to look at how they can monetize music, etc. So when I think about disruption, it's one of the things that the marketing community needs drastically. We still have advertisers out there, with a lot of Fortune 500 companies that believe television and broadcast television is 60, 70% of their budget. When we all know that from a digital standpoint, particularly 50 and below, they're cord cutters, their own connected TV. They're not sitting up watching Lester Holt, on the 5:30 or 6:30 Eastern Time news. They're watching and consuming that news in some very different ways. So when you think about that disruption, we have to disrupt the way the traditional marketing models work. Again, when things are done in silos, where you have D, E, and I, when the equity piece is there, that means that the equity is going to be there in the marketing budgets as well. Again, that's disruption. That's transformation. That begins to say that the minority consumer should now be in the lead and not as an afterthought. Almost every aspect that goes on in popular culture is led by Black culture and Latino culture. And that goes back to the same when it comes to the title of your podcast, because Uncle Nearest shaped whiskey. Even though Jack Daniels for years, nobody knew about Uncle Nearest. When you think about jazz, it was the jazz musicians who shaped modern music today, whether it was Miles or Coltrane, etc. And it's the same in leadership. We've had some phenomenal leaders in the Black community. One of my favorites, one of the men that I look up to this day is Brother John Jacob, who was executive vice president at Anheuser-Busch. He was an incredible leader. He left from the not-for-profit world as president of the National Urban League to ascending to EVP of Anheuser-Busch and, of course, sitting on numerous corporate boards. But he was transformational even in the way Anheuser-Busch approached business. He didn't come in a role just to deal with the Black market or to write checks. He came in there and making a difference. And I credit him for giving us the opportunity within Anheuser-Busch. Marketing was not a part of his role per se. He was over communications, but not necessarily marketing and advertising. But he made sure that we had a real opportunity, and then it was on us to take advantage of that opportunity.
Hey, it's not too late. Hit that subscribe button so you're sure to catch the next episode. If you're really enjoying the vibe, leave us a review or become a VIP for guest and show exclusives. Cheers.